Hey guys, welcome back to According To. I'm Megan.
And I'm Ciera. For this week's episode, Megan and I are going to be chatting about why we never wanted to pursue social media full time. Obviously, like, more so when we were in our heyday of like that was possibly something we could have decided to do, but we did not.
Yeah, I felt like when we were coming up with, as Ciera and I do, you know, weekly or not weekly, I wish we did a weekly. Monthly when we're kind of going through and planning out our content for the upcoming weeks. It was just a thought that kind of came to mind, and I feel like with, like, social media is so different now compared to what it was even when we first started, but I thought it'd be fun to take a little trip down memory lane of, like, you know, just how social media was back then,
Yes.
our experience that time, and any of the thought processes that went into that type of a decision. And, you know, whether we have any regrets, whether we would do things differently now. So, yeah, we'll get into all of that in a moment and as the episode goes on. Of course, before we do that, we are going to be doing our weekly spotlights. So, Ciera, what do you got?
I mean, my spotlight has to be that we are both taking PTO, or we've taken PTO today. It's like the end
This really was a nice
of our Monday.
This is the first time I've taken PTO, I think, where, like, it wasn't for the purpose of, like, having a wedding to go to or traveling that I was doing, but quite literally, like, just taking the day off for, like, a reason still, but, like, I was just here and there's things I had to do. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, this is kind of nice.
Yeah, we got to extend our weekend to a 3-day weekend.
And now we only have a
4-day work week ahead of us. And it was like a nice, fulfilling day where we were productive, but it was very rewarding. So that is my spotlight.
That is a good one. I don't know that I have. Oh, actually, I have a new show that I started watching, and it's been a while since I've had a show that I've been just, like, digging my claws into and, like, been binge watching. But I started Prison Break with my boyfriend's already seen it, but he suggested we watch it. And Haley and Maggie have both also seen this show, and I've never had a bad opinion on it. I just have never, like, picked it to start watching. But we watched, like, 5 episodes the first day we were watching it, and then I watched 3 more yesterday. Hopefully tonight I can maybe add a couple more on, but I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, new show to watch.
Nice. Okay. Aside from weekly spotlights, any updates, you guys? The Iowa-Oregon game was a heartbreaker.
It's, you know what? It's exactly what I should have expected. You know what I mean?
Like, so close.
I knew that we had a chance. The entire time I was like, I honestly don't think this is going to be a blowout game. I had full faith that, like, we were going into this game with the best chance of winning that we possibly could have, just, like, with where we've been this season. And then also Oregon, like, everything. I was like, you know, if there's a chance,
the stars are aligning.
However, you know, we're still Iowa, and Oregon is still
Find Iowa ways to mess up. So a couple
really
things
upsetting.
happened. Obviously, like, you can't blame the outcome of one game, like, based off of one single play.
But it's kind of easy to do that in this situation.
There were a few instances
right away at the beginning of the game
when the snap went, like, basically into the end zone, and you got, because
that safety really, you know, that determined the whole game. And so it's just upsetting.
Obviously, there are other points in the game where,
but it's okay. Move on.
I will say, because we were like, I wasn't seriously considering going to the game, but I know you were kind of.
I was a little bit more.
That would have been like, if we had one beautiful game to go to,
right.
Like, would have been the best thing ever.
But it also, like,
now that we lost, it's like, oh, thank God, you know, thank God I missed it.
And the
weather was awful.
Yeah, weather was not good. It was raining and probably cold, and yeah.
Also, this is just a side note. We were watching the game at Haley and Ashton's house, and it was me, Andrew, Megan, her boyfriend, Ashton, Haley, and then our dad was there. And we're all leaving, like, to go home. And
I forgot about this. I don't know how.
As we're walking out, I'm, like, not paying attention to anything, but my dad goes, like, oh, like, something's, like, going on in their garage or something, pointing to Haley's neighbor's house. And there's, like, smoke coming out of the garage.
Like, a lot of smoke.
And so,
but not like it wasn't like dark smoke. So you're like, okay,
you're
what's
like,
going on here?
Yeah, more so curiosity, like, what is happening. So our dad gets in the car first because he has to back out before we can leave. And I figure, like, he's going to drive by and see what's going on. And we're behind him. As he's, like, driving by, he literally, like, swerves into their driveway, like, runs out of his car.
Like, he
runs
was, like, on
to
a
the
mission.
front door. I was like, oh, my God, what's going on? So then, like, we pulled up, And I get out because I'm like, what are you doing? Like, do you need help? Like, do I need to call someone? I was like, is he running into like a burning building without like coming up with a plan? All that to say, I would say like he got there before anything major
bad from happening.
The neighbors had been grilling in the garage, I think because it was so cold, and had gone inside for who knows what length of time. It seemed like a group
get together, and I don't think anyone knew who was in charge of watching or remembering the grill.
So my understanding from what it looked like was like something must have caught fire in the grill, and like that's why it was excessively smoking, but nothing else had caught fire. Like it was just inside the grill.
So they came out and, you know, assuming they got it all under control, because then we left.
Yeah. But that was just like whoa, what's going on? Like freaky scenario that, you know, could have been worse. So I was like, I told my dad, I was like, that's your good deed for like the week. I think you get a week's worth of credit for that.
I think that you stopped their house from burning down. So good job.
Otherwise, the weekend was
too short, as always.
Uneventful. It's always too short. It's been very cold the past
couple
days.
It warms up a little bit. You know what? I did my longest run yet. Oh, yeah. And actually, it was when it was like freezing cold. Like it was 20 degrees, but then like there were wind gusts of up to 30 miles per hour. I only felt probably at 130 mile per hour wind gust where it was very cold. But my training plan had me scheduled to do a 6K, and I was like, I gotta stick with my training plan. And Sundays, I mean, any day on the weekend would be like a fine day for me to do my designated long run, but like it was Sunday. I already didn't do it Saturday. So I really went back and forth with like, do I want to go to the gym?
Do I push it off? I was like, you can run outside. I'm cold. I'm going to the gym.
It really wasn't that horrible to do it. Honestly, like the first half of it was the harder part, and then the second half was the easier part
because you've been warmed up.
But yeah, so I did 3.72 miles, and then
your next one's going to be an 8K. Is that 4?
It's actually just shy of 5, I think.
Oh, really?
Because it skips from 6K to 8K.
Every long run you do is the longest run yet.
I know. So slowly working my way up to
what
that
week
10K.
Are you on then?
I just finished my second one, I think. Yeah.
And it's 6 weeks total, or how?
I don't remember.
Well, making good progress.
So yeah, I'm still running, you guys. For now.
I did 4 miles on the treadmill.
See, that just sounds
what's funny
not
is
good to me.
When I was texting Andrew, he had just run like 6 miles, and he's like, well, you basically also ran 6 miles because yours was in treadmill miles.
Oh.
And I was like, thank you for the credit, but
no,
I can't accept. I will say, like, as far as treadmill runs go, like, I don't love them, but the nice part is that like your pace is set, and so like you don't have to like really think about like, am I pacing myself okay to like run?
I did have to stop and like I walked 0.15 miles because like for some reason like I started getting like chest pain, which is not usual for me when I'm running. But I was like, is this related to like the cold and breathing cold air? I don't know. It went away after I walked that little bit, and then I finished up pretty strong.
How do you feel like you're doing in terms of like you getting any side aches or anything anymore?
No side aches. Really, honestly, like surprisingly, I haven't really gotten side aches with any part of my running journey. But like on the treadmill, whenever I used to do stuff before, I always got side aches. So I don't know if it was just like if I run too fast, then I'm bound to get a side ache, and I purposefully haven't been doing that. My pace is still like roughly like a 12-minute pace probably, and I feel like it's 12 minutes no matter what I do. So doesn't matter the distance, 12 minutes.
Okay, that's improvement from when you first started.
I know. Yeah.
Okay. Any other updates before we get to our book updates?
I think it's book update time. I wish I had more to update you guys on. I've been slacking.
I have been slacking on my physical reading, but I've been excelling in my audio listening. So I finished, I think since I last spoke to you guys, I was reading or listening to Know My Name by Chanel Miller. I finished that one. I don't rate nonfiction books, especially like autobiographical books. Sorry, I said that weird. Autobiographical books, just because like I feel weird reading someone's, personal life story. Very good though. It was about Chanel was like the victim in like the Brock Turner case. So if you want to read her story, I would recommend checking it out. And I just started listening to Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. I low-key might finish it today if I'm listening to it when I'm finishing cleaning and doing groceries, because it's only a 6-hour audiobook. And according to my, like, I'm already halfway through it. So I have like 2 hours and 42 minutes left. I listen on double speed. So could finish it today, maybe tomorrow. That's just going over like the history of tuberculosis and like its impact on like basically all of like history and human civilization and its impacts into today's society. Pretty
Is that interesting?
Yeah, it's interesting enough. It's like talking about he like has visited Sierra Leone, I think for like something else originally, and then like was exposed to like how the TB crisis is still affecting people there. So it's like also about like health inequity and like things like that as well, okay, which I think makes it more interesting. So it's like it covers just a wide range of topics through like the lens of TB. And my fiction book, I still haven't started it yet, but I believe I'm going to be starting Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney.
I have done honestly like not that much reading. I read a little bit more last night, so I'm like 80 something pages into the book, but I've just been busy with other stuff as well, so my reading has been slacking, and hopefully I can get back on it a little bit.
Okay.
All right.
Into the meat and potatoes of today's episode. So I'm sure, just to give a little context, the vast majority of you probably have been around for a while, and
you know our lore a little
bit. Our
heyday.
And we've explained it a couple times, but to quickly recap, Megan and I got our start on the internet posting YouTube videos to a cheer and gymnastics YouTube channel called Ciera Stitz 2. Currently has 2 million subscribers.
Started in like 2011. So 14 years ago.
So
that's so crazy,
right? Like more than half our life.
Okay.
So we started posting videos on there just for
really
fun.
Like mindlessly. Like
we had always grown up like loving to like record ourselves with Maggie. Like that's what we would do when we would hang out
make
together.
little home videos all the time. Edit them.
Yeah, without posting them anywhere. And so then it was only natural, like as we started watching YouTube. I don't remember when YouTube even like was fully published, but like when we like learned like
and
we
it used
could
to be like the
stuff,
channels used to look so different, you guys.
We decided that we would post our own videos, and so we posted tutorials initially of like new skills. Like we basically learn a skill and then like we would say, here's how you do it. Mm-hmm. And it's like this awful skill that we can barely do. And then I don't really like remember like obviously
I know
the
at one
views
point
trickle
like,
in.
our mom got a nice camera just because she wanted to get a nice camera. Sierra and I were like, this thing also records too. Like we're upping our video quality.
So it was like little by little, like I don't know how much our mom knew. Like she knew that we'd like record stuff,
but then I don't know. Like we weren't really telling her we're posting this stuff.
No, we didn't really tell anyone, and like we didn't really think to tell anyone.
Like there was nothing to tell. For a safety, maybe we should have.
Like safety wise,
we didn't.
Yes, probably. But this is like still like in a time where like
I think
no
not
one
until like whenever we figured out you could actually start making money, and we had to like sign up for like AdSense. At some point there, I'm sure we had to ask our mom for like tax info ID stuff, and we probably did not know what to do with that.
Yeah. And then also when we joined Seven Gymnastics Girls, we had to get parental permission for that. And I'm not sure like in the timeline of like AdSense.
Like I'm sure our mom also like, I think Seven Gymnastics Girls was probably the thing that like kind of forced everything to the surface a little bit, just in terms of like, yeah, so like this is kind of a thing that we're doing. And again, like this is so long ago, even like my timeline of it all is a little bit
It was like
fuzzy.
also like a natural and like slow progression. Like I remember like, oh, we get like a couple comments and like then we're averaging like, 3,000 views, which like that for like, starting out, that's a big deal. And so like just slowly but surely our views would like, increase. We hit 50,000 subscribers in 2014. So we'd been posting for 3 years at that point. And then I think at that time was also like when we had broken off from Seven Gymnastics Girls. So like from there on, it was just like us focusing, like we knew we were focusing solely on TC2. So like we were pretty serious about it at that point. Obviously like biggest years I think of our YouTube career in terms of TC2 was like 2016 through 2018, with like 2017 was like our peak year, I think. Chef's
bread and
kiss.
butter.
Obviously content styles changed. We weren't just posting exclusively tutorials. We were trying to hop on trends like relevant throughout like lifestyle and comedy YouTube, and like if we could make that like in a gymnastics or cheer lens, and like we would try to do that, and it resonated with a lot of people. So
yeah, we got
subscriber
lucky
base
that
grew.
People found us and liked our videos, and
I think we hit
to
a
watch.
million in 2016. Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Like 2014, 2016.
I will say, like, just kind of as we talk about going forward, like, you know, pursuing social media full time versus not, like, to be completely transparent, like, we were making good money from our YouTube channel in high school for the most part through college with, like, I want to say, like, our senior year of high school into, like, our freshman year of college. Like, that was probably our best year just, like, from an earnings standpoint. And, like, it was definitely, like, a livable salary for each of us to be able to do that.
And we weren't even like, again, this is where I feel like if I could go back and do some things differently, having like either a trustworthy management team or like pursuing like additional revenue streams would have like
we
been,
were very much like, AdSense was good to us, but like we basically were only making our money through AdSense at that time. Branded partnerships were like not really
like they were few and far
coming
between
to us. And I feel like that's like, they're definitely more common now in general, but it's like we really didn't do that many branded sponsorships. We didn't get approached a lot for those either, for whatever reason.
I don't know if it had to do with like us being minors for like the majority of like when we were posting. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but even like as we got into our early college years, I feel like that still didn't change that much. Mm-hmm. So anyway, obviously,
What's interesting too is like, kind of since Maggie is like a little bit of a part of this whole equation, I know that her dad, like for example, did kind of at least like question or like force her to ponder a little bit more of like, do you want to go to college? Like, would you rather just continue pursuing what you're doing now because you're making good money? And I would say like our parents never really asked us that. And I do think like the expectation was still probably like, you're going to college. Granted, like they didn't pay for our school. So like if I didn't want to go to college, I did not have to go. And it wouldn't have been like that strict of an expectation. But I do think like that was the expectation.
I will say a couple things, like as we were, going through high school, it's natural to think about next steps. And so obviously like growing up on YouTube, you always watch other YouTubers and you see people saying like what their plans are. And like a lot of, high school age YouTubers would then be like, it was like, are they going to college or are they going to do YouTube full time? Are they moving to California? Like that was kind of what you would watch for. And I mean, Megan and I can't speak for Maggie. We never like were considering like, packing up and moving to California.
No,
I
never,
must be
ever.
Totally honest. I always pictured like incorporating YouTube into my future plans, but I was not thinking of like not going to college.
I agree.
So, and like that's something probably related to like me always being like, I was a pretty like high performing student. Like I honestly like saw a lot of my self-worth and probably still do see a lot of my self-worth in like my abilities like as a student and like, wanting to like prove like how smart I am for better or for worse. And so I was like, well, I'm going to go to college. Like,
I do think there's a variety of things that I know, like for lack of a better term, I do feel like growing up, we were kind of hardwired to like just see like most people, everyone going around us going to college, having the college experience. And like, I liked that idea. I liked the draw of continuing my education. I'm like Ciera's mentioning, I'm usually a pretty book smart person. And I like to, for the most part, like I enjoy being a student. And so going to college, having that separate experience of like also kind of feeling like you get to like grow up a little bit outside of your own personal little bubble. Obviously, we still stayed in state, so I'm not going to act like we went and explored the world, but like still getting out of our hometown for a little bit, having a change of scenery. And then, as someone who liked the idea of like a kind of bigger college experience, going to the University of Iowa was appealing. Haley, our older sister, was already there too. And all of those different components, I liked the idea of that. So that's why, social media or not, like I wanted to go to college and like have that experience. And then also, there are some people who choose to do social media full time, maybe rather than going to college if that was something else they were considering, with the caveat of like college is always going to be there. And my mindset is more so and was more so like I'd rather do it now. Like if I'm going to go do the college experience, I'm going to do it in what I think is going to be the most fun way and when I'm going to be most motivated to do it. Because then I always have that down the line.
And I do think other factors that played a role in us choosing to like go to college and not pursue YouTube full time was twofold, in the sense that obviously our channel was cheer and gymnastics based. That's not necessarily to say it's impossible, but it's difficult to transition that niche beyond like when we're, you know,
like,
done
I
doing
don't
the sport.
think, I think the biggest barrier was that like we could not foresee a longer term business plan of like what was this going to look like in 5 to 10 years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're someone who is on social media making lifestyle content or beauty content, like that stuff is much more evergreen. And like there's other categories, I'm
and
sure,
you also
too.
like, it's the three of us, and you know, we can't just pivot in one direction that like suits one of us. It has to suit all three of us. So that was a difficult thing to navigate as well. And then also talking about, you know, different plans you try to come up with when you're in high school. Like I had already considered becoming a physical therapist in high school. And so had I not had an idea of what I wanted to do or an idea of what I wanted to study, maybe that would have been something that would have been like, you know, maybe I try social media like more seriously. But I was like, well, I know what I want to study and I know what I want to do. So I'm going to pursue that while continuing social media as I see it is applicable.
Right. I feel like, too, our niche never lent itself to, like, I try to think even now, and, like, there were many a times, too, throughout undergrad and into grad school where we were continuing to do, you know, our Megan and Ciera YouTube channel. We were still doing TC2 for, like, literally up until 2022 was when we stopped for the most part. And then, like, just the amount of times we sat down all together to try and like figure out what is the way to pivot. But no matter how many good ideas you come up with too, I do feel like unless you're like the most untouchable creator, like everyone has their own little like timeline of like, this is when you're going to be the hot topic, the it. Not that we were like the it creator on YouTube, but like we had our little heyday. And I think no matter how much like reworking your SEO or trying to come up with different ideas, like you're probably just going to have like that timeline a little bit. And you know, it is what it is. You can check, like you can look back at like the biggest YouTuber like ever, like Tyler Oakley, for example. Like who would have ever thought like he was huge, and like I'm sure he still posts on YouTube, but like no one's watching Tyler Oakley probably that much anymore. Same with
I'm
TC2.
sure there are still people,
but like, you know what I mean?
Watching, but yeah,
It's just like those are household YouTuber names, and everyone knows who they are, and they could still probably be making very similar content to what they were doing before, and like it's just not enough because there's always new people, the next most interesting person to come online and engage a new audience. So in that sense, kind of scary to bank on social media when you don't know what's going to happen. You really can't control your paycheck. It's all a guessing game. And, you know, if that's the only thing that you're doing, I think people now are a lot better at like diversifying what it is that they're doing. So they have a little bit more of a guessable or like an income that they can kind of estimate is going to come in. But yeah.
And I would say also just like in terms of, you know, the mental health aspects, the uncertainty, like you mentioned, of the pressure of like social media being your full-time job versus having that guaranteed income from like a more stable job, or like what we were kind of planning on, you know, we're going to school to get this career and then like that income will be guaranteed and we don't have to worry about like the highs and lows of like the YouTube algorithm and the stress of having to come up with new concepts every week. And obviously, like, we still do social media, we still post on YouTube, we still do this podcast. Like, we've added things to our plate that it still feels like, you know, I still feel like a YouTuber, like, you know, but I don't feel like I'm checking the numbers every month to be like, oh, are we meeting X, Y, and Z earning, so that like I don't have to stress about like, you know, getting groceries, like, and not that we were ever in a situation where we had to worry about that, because like, again, TC2, we got to like save a lot of money from that, but it was like, you know, that was our only earnings through undergrad and grad school as well. And that's kind of like when that decline like really started to hit, I guess, because like we had taken time off of TC2, and so we're just getting residuals from that. But it's like knowing that like I'm towards the end of like, okay, I'm gonna get a job soon, I was kind of like, you know, I'm glad that,
because we are certainly not making a salary off of our earnings now. It's a nice little bonus.
Yeah, end of each
little
month.
Extra something. Little extra something. But it's not obviously what it was, and like I don't think either of us are surprised by that by any means.
Okay, so now that we've kind of discussed, you know, the whys of why we did not pursue social media full time,
if you were to say kind of just in like one like blanket statement, what would it be?
I would say too hard to foresee long-term growth and desires to do something outside of social media.
I would say like I agree with that. I also would say like just weirdly enough, like never really crossed my mind to not do also something else. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I was just like social media can always like be there and be a part of what I'm doing, but because like that's kind of what it was in high school and in undergrad. Like it just was a separate thing I'm doing, but it's not what I'm doing full time. Mm-hmm. I also like, to be honest, as someone who like obviously we started with more specific cheer gymnastics content, and we've transitioned definitely more so into lifestyle stuff, and I like our content and our vlogs, and you know we get feedback that a lot of you guys like, you know, our simple, fairly realistic routines and just life and day-to-day stuff, but it would have been hard for me to envision a world in which like if I'm doing lifestyle stuff as a full-time job, like what does that look like for me, and how am I going to make things interesting and keep things feeling fresh?
And like there are totally creators that do it.
Yes.
Like, you know, where it's like, oh yeah, this is your job. But I unfortunately don't feel like I have like, if I'm showing you what I'm doing throughout the day, I don't imagine it would be drastically different than what I'm doing now, except for the fact that I wouldn't have a job. So then people would just be like, so what are you doing? You know, it's like the never ending loop of like, oh, I have a job and it's
especially
because
a lot of other lifestyle influencers are like, and this is why people follow them, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but like they're a lot better at kind of like selling stuff too, or just like being, you know, an influencer quite literally, and like talking about
I never
products,
felt like that's where we excelled.
About those types of things where like it's a natural bridge into either branded sponsorships or, you know,
that's the other thing is
stuff,
people,
things of that sort.
Going off of that, people follow and watch a lot of influencers. They watch these days because like they've got, for better or for worse, like a lifestyle that they want to emulate. Like whether it's like, oh, your life looks so aesthetic, like I want to copy it. Therefore they can sell.
I want to do the things
you're
doing.
Here's how I do my hair. Here's where I buy my clothes. Here's where I get my makeup products, like X, Y, and Z.
We're
and
not
say,
those people.
Buy. Like I'm gonna do that. Our intrigue was never in, you know, you guys buying into our lifestyle. It was, you know, we're here to teach you some gymnastics tricks and, you know, make some entertaining videos. And like that's why people watched us. And unfortunately, you know, for us at least,
like, personality wise, like we try as we might to, you know, jump on those other opportunities for, you know, commission based stuff, or, you know, I love a branded sponsorship and post here and there, but it's not, our inboxes are not flooded in that sense.
Yeah. Okay. So going into how we incorporate social media into our life today, I do think that having this, I like the blend of like having a job and then also doing social media. And I can think of other creators that I know of that also do something similar, where it's like I feel like that adds to their brand, which I feel like only helps my personal social media brand. Mm-hmm. So I think of like other healthcare providers. Oh. I've got two people at least.
They're not healthcare providers that I was thinking of.
Who are you thinking of?
Well, I just know you watch Keegan Acton and then Abby Aslin.
Those two I do also like, and like they work full-time jobs and then do social media on the side. And I, again, feel like it makes them more relatable.
To us especially.
But then I also enjoy watching, I don't watch as much of their content. I do watch those two people more, but like as far as healthcare people, Catherine Mueller is a dentist.
Although she's been off for a bit.
Yeah, she's
I'm
moving.
jealous of her. She's getting
licensed.
and she moved states, and so she's been doing credentialing to be a dentist in California. I swear she's been off work for months at this point. I'm jealous.
And then the other one that I could think of was like Lexi Fuller is another dentist.
Catherine's interesting too because like she doesn't do lifestyle
that's why
stuff.
She does some lifestyle stuff,
more
but she's like more of like the athletic wear. Like that's where her channel like really like got big, and she's like, oh, I'm also like in dental school, and now I'm a dentist. So like she shares about that a little bit. I like Lexi Fuller because like she obviously is also a dentist, but she primarily posts like lifestyle content, and like the dentist stuff is just kind of on the side. And I feel like that's kind of where you and I like to hit, because like we didn't grow our following like from being PTs. At least for the most part.
Came along the way, maybe as we were in PT school, or just sharing our journey in that regard. But like for the most part, I feel like we try to focus our content on like, if you guys are watching us, hopefully you're watching because you like us as people.
And so I like to incorporate like the PT stuff here and there, but I think like, you know, we can do a daily vlog and like, oh, I was at work, now I'm home, like,
and I don't need to debrief my whole day with you guys.
So I like that our audience, you know, is receptive to just like our lifestyle stuff, and then, you know, they're interested in the PT stuff when we share it, but like it doesn't have to be shared. And I'm trying to get better about like TikTok. I would love to like make it more of like a consistent medium, because I do feel like that is where I have the ability to like shine like all the different niches that I would like to share. Right now,
the interesting thing with kind of like where we are at with our career and then social media is like I have an audience there that like I don't want to say capitalize, because like I'm not saying I'm just trying to like make money off of you guys, but like, you know, I have, you know, 60,000 TikTok followers, and like I'm not using that platform really to its advantage. Instagram, I hardly post on there, and like it just it helps me to be mindful that like I do think if I put the effort in, like I've got the content that I think is good to share.
I think that I have good ideas. I think that I live like a well-rounded life where like just TikTok things that I would love to like share and post about. I love sharing stuff about being a physical therapist and like my thoughts and experiences in that regard. And like I've been on PT TikTok before, and so like there is an audience for that I would love to like bring people in from. I, you know, I wouldn't say I've recently started my running journey because it's almost been a year at this point, but like I share like running, some fitness stuff like on TikTok. That's something that I also care about, that I would love to incorporate more. I love like, again, lifestyle stuff, like doing small TikTok vlogs. I love reading. I would love to share more about reading. Like I feel like I have so many different hobbies and pursuits and passions that like I want to share more of that stuff, and I'm trying to be mindful of doing that more on TikTok.
And it's like I know when I get into like my zone, like I like posting TikToks when I have them to post, so it's just a matter of coming up with the idea and executing on it. And then obviously like in a world where you can pretty much monetize off of anything, like that's just another perk and bonus.
And it is funny because Meg and I have talked about like in some ways we almost feel like, you know, we want to like regress to be like micro influencers at a certain point.
There's micro influencers that have somehow cracked a code that in my 14 years on social media
could never be done.
I've never cracked it. Because like, and maybe they're just selling me and I'm the one that's a fool because maybe they're lying to me. But like there are people that, you know, do social media full time, and like I think it's tricky when you get into content by people, or when you get to content where people are kind of like selling you on how successful they are. You always got to be a little bit wary, but some of these people like, you know, show their receipts, and you know, who's to say they're like telling the truth or lying. But micro influencers, like I don't know how or where they're getting all their branded sponsorships and deals from, but like they'll be making, you know, 6 figures plus, and I'll go to their profiles and it's like they've got 20,000 followers, which is not a lot of followers, but just like my mind cannot comprehend the differences, the vast differences in my experience as
I think what I would love to do, and what I've tried to be doing a better job, just like as I approach social media in the future, maybe this is kind of where we can like dive into like, you know, in the past, social media full time, not for us, where do we see it going in the future? I love building an audience. I love like communicating with you guys on social media, and unfortunately I feel like as someone who doesn't necessarily always engage like, I know you guys use social media the way that I use social media, which is like I watch, I observe, and then I leave. And I'm trying to do a better job myself using social media and engaging with more content that I enjoy, and like letting people know, and like even like small TikToks that pop up on my For You page, and it's like a simple little day in life that I'm just like, I enjoyed watching that. Like, I'm trying to be more mindful, like liking things and like showing support for like content that I like, or content that I'm like, oh, I would love to like emulate something like this. Like, you know, good job on you for making this. And then I'm just trying to like, honestly, I'm commenting on more TikToks. Like, I'm trying to.
Small content creators really do motivate me, because like they're out here, like, you know, putting in the effort and like, you know, kind of posting to no one, or like, you know, posting things in the masses and hoping something sticks. And obviously, like, we were there at one point too,
but it didn't feel like it, right? Because like we didn't know.
Felt like no one else was, you know, no one else was doing it, and like it was just kind of like a hidden thing that we were doing. And now it's hard, because like everything is so public. Everyone knows everything that you're doing.
Like, if you're trying to start something on social media, like people are going to know,
right? And sometimes like that's a nerve-wracking place to be in.
Like, I feel like
you
at
don't
least
have any numbers to back it up. Like, by the time people that we knew in real life knew about our social media, like I remember freshman year of high school, we had 14,000 subscribers at least on YouTube, and I knew of people who knew that we had that going on, but I at least felt validated enough in our subscriber count.
I've got 14,000 people watching me, so like it's not nothing.
Yeah.
Where do you see, like, in terms of social media for you/us, and some of our social media is integrated? Like, where do you see yourself wanting to pursue it? How do you see yourself wanting to improve?
I mean,
make it more or less part of your life.
I don't have any immediate, like, this is what I'm doing, you know, starting tomorrow to like make my social media presence better. I'm always kind of in the mindset and in the camp of like, I know it's something that I like seeing from other people, but I don't know how to implement it myself. Even I've always been so against, not so against, but like Instagram Reels. I really kind of, you know, backtrack to TikTok in terms of any sort of like video content.
I've been also toying with possibly like, but like integrating more Instagram Reels.
So many people just like, I'm getting more used to the idea of like incorporating Reels as just like something I post on Instagram rather than like only using TikTok. Because Instagram is still like, as an overall platform, like Instagram is probably, well, it's hard to say that even now. I used to always be like, Instagram is my for sure like favorite platform, but like TikTok is quite amazing. So yeah, it's hard to honestly say that for sure.
I just actually, within the past few days, like,
I just saw you updated your profile picture
and then I added some stuff to my bio. Well, I didn't add any text, but I was like, I want to like, you know, get a vibe going of like, what is the vibe that I give off? And so you guys won't believe me. You will believe me. It's like the most believable thing ever. Do you think I can craft a set of emojis and string emojis together that look good?
No.
So do you know what I did?
ChatGPT.
I said, what do you think is my is like the aesthetic emoji vibe that I would give off that would make sense for my TikTok? And I thought it worked pretty well. I feel like it feels, you know, like it relates to me, but like in terms of the aesthetic, it still fits together. It looks nice together. So yeah, you guys can go check it out if you want.
Some exciting stuff over there.
But because I see like people with like the red fiery heart emoji, like teddy bear, and I'm like, that's not quite my vibe. Like, I don't think I pull that off. So this feels safe for me. But I did that as like part of a, you know, not necessarily like pillars of like what I want to post, but like a grounding point of like, what will people expect when they come to my TikTok? And that's what I hope to use as some guideposts for hopefully being more consistent with posting in the future.
I'm going to give myself some grace because like behind the scenes, like Ciera and I really have been like living pretty busy lives. So the fact that social media is taking like a little bit of a,
more to come.
Not really like from your guys' perspective, like we're posting everything we've been posting normally, but just like in terms of saying like, I'm now also going to like kick this into high gear, like hold your horses a little bit. But it is something for sure that I want to try and get back into.
Hopefully like within
regularly.
The new year, we'll be refreshed and in good headspaces, ready to hit the ground running. And at least
even doing this little chat kind of just makes me
inspires you, right?
Like, more inspired and kind of ready to try and challenge myself a little bit more with that stuff. Honestly, the hardest part is pulling the camera out and like hitting record. Because once you have the content, you can try and edit together. At least you have something. But making the decision to record sometimes is the hardest part.
Okay, that's enough of our journey. I think I would like to end with like talking to you guys about like, not necessarily like, this is not to be like you guys should start social media full time, but I know a lot of people listening,
Like, it's so, social media can be for anyone, and anyone can make
and like
presence.
it can so easily go from like your own personal social media and like using it as naturally as you would the way that you're currently using TikTok and Instagram, and it can so easily become something that is more fruitful and builds more of an audience that relates to you. So if you want any tips, my tips for you would be to honestly not develop a niche too quickly. I think the best thing you could do, and this is like, I'm primarily thinking of like TikTok and Instagram Reels are like the best way in my mind to like post on, to develop like not necessarily like a name for yourself, but like if you want to reach a large audience, that's by far the easiest way to do it. Like YouTube is an option, but it's much harder
to start. Is going to be
to build an audience on YouTube. Like if you ask like today if I wanted to start a YouTube channel, I'd be like, oh my god, like I can't start a YouTube channel, no one's gonna find it. So I would say like find either a content you enjoy watching on TikTok or Reels, and just think about like, what do I enjoy doing? Like, do I like to read? Do I want to post like my 5 recent books that I enjoyed? And like that's stuff where it's natural to you anyways. Like, you know, if you post that and like your 5 friends see it, they're like, oh, that makes sense for Tiffany that she would post that. Or if you post it and 20,000 people who also love reading see it, then like that's something you can latch onto. If you're a runner, you know, running TikTok is very popular. You can post a run. Like I see so many people with like, you know, no likes, and they're like, join me on my 9-mile long run. And I'm like, amazing. Like you're doing that anyways. So post about it.
I think a good way to get ideas too is like you are part of your audience probably, and like you know what you find interesting. So when you see different social media posts, or maybe you like, you know, really admire this one specific creator and what they're doing, like TikTok has a save button. Like save some ideas, get inspo, don't copy people, but like you can get ideas on like, oh, this was really good to record, or even just like how she went about doing this, you know, setup or vlog or what have you, or explore different things. Some people like will do voiceover vlogs. Some people will do talking vlogs. Some people will do little photo slideshows of, you know, things. There's different varieties that you can try out and see what works, and, you know, just start posting and see what happens.
Otherwise, I would say if you feel like you still struggle to come up with ideas, like just pull out your camera and record stuff. Like I have so many vertical videos on my phone from like things that I was doing, places I've been, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing with this, but save it for a rainy day. Maybe like a trend will, you know, come around later on. Maybe you'll post like a cute little like memory slideshow vlog of like, you know, some videos from your past. You just never know like when something might make good content, if not now, later down the line. So those are our words of wisdom. I like how the episode of like, you know, how not to be a social media influencer turned into like us giving our tips for social media. But it's like always,
I think we live in a world where like I think anyone can enjoy being as involved or not involved in social media as they would like. For me personally, I think it's also just like a fun quote unquote hobby, if you will. It gives me just like things to do outside of like work, and if anything, I feel like social media helps me to spotlight the other things that I am passionate about and am excited about and enjoy.
Like imagine if, you know, obviously you don't need to post everything on social media like to make it real life, but like just to highlight what Megan's saying, like so many people say like, oh, I go to my 9 to 5 and I don't do anything else, but like maybe scroll on social media. Well, then if you're on social media, like get involved, like do something on social media.
And then it's post about it and, you know, see what happens.
You're contributing to it and not just,
and if you enjoy doing it, like do it.
Yeah. Obviously if you don't do it. Okay. Any other last minute thoughts?
I think that wraps it up.
Okay. Well,
any regrets?
None at all. I honestly like truly, if you guys have been around forever, like thank you. The life that we live like is truly so blessed and so full, in no short part, like in thanks to the social media stuff that we had the privilege of doing growing up and still get to continue to do today. So we are forever grateful, and we're grateful that if you are still sticking around watching us watching us, posting stuff, that you're still enjoying it.
Yeah. All right. With that being said, I think we'll end today's episode here. If you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure you comment on our YouTube video, or you can always comment on our episode post. Or if you have anything else you want to say, reach out to us on the DMs or something.
And we'll talk to you guys next Thursday.
Bye.